And welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with me, KP. Thanks for joining us. It is October 22nd, 2016. It is a great Saturday morning. There's a lot of college football going on today. It's going to be a great football weekend, a great sports weekend. You know, you got the NBA preseason wrapping up with the regular season starting next week. You got the Cubs taking on the Dodgers today. You got the Indians. They've already moved into the World Series. You got NFL action on Sunday. You got the LA Sparks winning the WNBA title. So all kinds of stuff going on in sports. Good stuff, bad stuff, stuff we're going to talk about. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me this morning. And let's get into some of this stuff before we run out of time, shall we? All right. This one, you know, this one's a little tough for Lions fans, for Lions followers, for the sports journalist community. Drew Sharp, longtime Detroit Free Press journalist, and he passed away. We lost him, I believe, yesterday. It might have been Thursday night, but I read about this yesterday. Drew Sharp, always enjoyed reading his stuff. Didn't always like the content because he kept it very real. He did not cut the Lions or that organization any slack in what he wrote. He also wrote about the other teams there in Detroit, but I read mostly about his stuff concerning the Lions, and he didn't hold back. You know, there was no, baby towel with Drew Sharp and the Lions. He kept it real with them. He was tough on them. And for the most part, he was honest about it. There was times, you could tell he was just a hurt fan and he was sick of writing about tragedy. But for the most part, really enjoyed his stuff. Gonna miss, turning on the computer and looking up Free Press and seeing what the daily stories are, and his won't be there. And he did different things too. He worked for the mothership. You guys might even have seen him on one of the Sunday morning shows back in the day. So he will be missed. Great writer, longtime Lions supporter and Detroit sports supporter. And to his family, all the wishes go to his family for sure. On this other guy right here, Ben McAdoo, coach of the New York Giants. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but their kicker, again in the news, again for his domestic violence issues. His wife decided not to follow through with her charges after coming forward a few months ago and saying it had happened tens of times, 20, 30 times, and it really didn't go anywhere. She ended up not cooperating all the way, and it kind of went away. League didn't do anything. I think he got a 1-game suspension. And this is something we've talked about on this show before. There was no videotape, so hey, we're going to take a different stance on it than you're suspended for the season for domestic violence. Because there's not a lot of press, so we'll let it go. Well, now it comes out this week that Josh Brown has admitted to it, and the stuff that he wrote is deplorable. It's not acceptable. He shouldn't be still active at this point. It shouldn't be, we're going to reinvestigate, we didn't know. It should be, this is our stance on this, and it's not going to happen. Roger Goodell did say something similar to that I saw on the BBC in an interview. But there's been no action on it. We're going to wait and investigate? No. In his own words, he says she should be subservient. She should do what I say? Are you kidding me? I'm with Steve Smith Sr., the receiver from Baltimore. If that was my daughter, I'd whoop your ass. Talking about she should be subservient. You're a kicker, bro. You know how many men are on your team that can eat you, take you down and out, not block their guys and let them just run you out of town? Talking about she should be subservient when you tell her something to do. And now you got the head coach saying we're not gonna turn our back on Josh. Yes, you should. He no longer deserves the privilege of playing that game on that level. And believe me, it is a privilege. You start with millions of kids playing the game and you end up with a little over 1,000 players. It's a privilege, and he does not deserve that privilege any longer. So let's go ahead. We're going to do the DC3PO College Football Kickoff. Hey, Chris, how you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Great to have you. Great to talk some college football this morning. Thanks for calling in.
Be here.
Let's start off with some recaps. A couple recaps this week. I was going to start off with your Tigers, but we'll get to them in a minute. Let's start off with two games that already played, and we'll recap those a little bit. Let's start with the Miami-Virginia Tech game. This is a game I was thinking maybe coming into the week could be a game of the week type game, could be exciting, close. Va-Tech did not agree with me. How did Va-Tech really do to Miami what we saw them do? What was it, 37-16? How did they do that to Miami?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with that even though Miami has shown some maturity and kind of growing up, they still maybe aren't that good of a football team, kind of like more of what they were last year than more of what we saw from them at the beginning of the year. And Virginia Tech is still solid. So I think I wasn't too surprised with that outcome. I did think Virginia Tech was going to win just because overall they have a better defense. Mm-hmm. But Miami will get better under Rick, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely signs there. And like you said, they're young. I might have been drinking their Kool-Aid a little bit too. I did think Va-Tech would pull it out. I thought they were the stronger team. But I was surprised Miami couldn't really keep it close, because it really wasn't even as close as the score looks.
Right.
Now this game, I caught the end of this game. The Boise State-BYU game. Great ending. Boise State pulls it out, 28-27, playing well as a ranked team. Now, back-to-back weeks, Boise State pulls out these wins, Colorado State, BYU. How are they going to make a roll and make this interesting and give the playoff structure a problem?
Well, they'll probably finish undefeated. Their biggest test is going to be against Air Force towards the end of the year, and Air Force beat them last year. So they'll probably finish undefeated, but no, they're not in anywhere near the discussion to cause any issues. This Boise State team is nowhere near the Kellen Moore Boise State teams, and they'll probably get, invited to some of those other upper tier bowls, like probably the Fiesta Bowl again. But I'm not sold all that much on Boise State, as much as I am that I think BYU might be the greatest 3-loss team or 4-loss team out there. Their losses are a total of 8 points. So they have played everybody that they've gone up against and lost to very, very tough. So I would definitely keep an eye out on BYU, whatever bowl game they go to, depending on whatever that matchup is. But BYU is a really good football team. So it was at least something in Boise State's favor, even though they eked out that win, but that they actually beat a very good BYU team.
Nice. All right. So positives on both sides. I like to hear that about BYU. I did not check that stat, the 8 points. That's something to say right there. They might be able to spoil some other teams' seasons going down the rest of the season. I'll have to check out their schedule and see who they got. Let's see. All right. Let's get to your Tigers. Big game this week against Ole Miss.
Big game.
Big game against Ole Miss. I'm taking the Tigers to upset Ole Miss. Does Leonard play? Who comes out on top?
Are you drinking the purple Kool-Aid?
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid this week, my friend.
Well, I kind of want to caution you on that, because let's not. Even though there's a resurgence in the fan base, there seems to be a different resurgent attitude on the team itself. But That was Missouri and Southern Mississippi. But having said that, this is where you'll determine whether or not Coach O is actually going to have a shot at becoming the permanent head coach going forward. And just think about this gauntlet for LSU. It's Ole Miss. 2 weeks from now, it's Alabama. Then it's Florida, Arkansas, and A&M. I mean, this is going to be one heck of a thing. And it's not that LSU doesn't have the talent, but it's going to be really difficult. So when you look at all the early season problems at LSU that got Miles fired, you know, LSU is still 14th in yards per play on offense, then they're 12th on defense, and they have only allowed 6 touchdowns all year on defense, and that's the best in the country. And 4 of those were red zone touchdowns. So it's very difficult to score on LSU, but Ole Miss, you know, trying to recover for a brutal starting schedule that has them at 3-3. They can throw the ball. They really can't run the ball. And their defense has not held up very well against the run. And you've got Fournette back. And if you watched Missouri and Southern Miss, then you saw Darius Geis, who's been terrific in Fournette's absence. So that's going to be one heck of a 1-2 punch on a team that can't really stop the run at all. Ole Miss has won the last 2 games in this rivalry. This matchup appears to favor LSU at home in Death Valley. I hope LSU would win, but at this 9 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN game, DC3PO thinks Ole Miss wins 26-25 with a 53.5 win probability, and in fact, that's the lowest probability of all the games that DC3PO has, so he doesn't really know either.
Gonna be a good one. Can't wait. All right, so this is another team that's had a resurgence here. I mean, we saw what they did against Florida State. We saw them hold strong against Clemson. They're taking on Louisville this week. Does NC State have a chance of holding strong in this game too?
They have a chance because their defense is for real, and Louisville better be ready to play when this kicks off at noon Eastern on ABC. You know, 1 week after going on the road and losing to Clemson after a missed field goal at the end of regulation, NC State has to rebound from that disappointment to go back on the road to face another top 10 ACC team. They did have that win over Notre Dame and Hurricane Matthew. I mean, that was nice. But Dave Doran at NC State has yet to beat a Power 5 team that finished with the winning record. So looks like that the only one he has this year is going to be Wake Forest, who surprisingly is 5-2. They're playing well. They're 17th in yards per play allowed on defense. But, I mean, Lamar Jackson's going to bounce back with a big outing after, you know, he didn't look very good against Duke. I think Louisville takes care of NC State. It might be a little close, but they should pull away at the end, and DC3PO has a 80.9 win probability for Louisville 33, NC State 20.
All right, there you go, Cardinal fans, getting back on that dominating streak this week. Can OU against Texas Tech? I know they need this one to stay strong, stay in that hunt for that Big 12 title this season. Can OU get past the Raiders down there this week?
Well, Baker Mayfield's first game against his former team last year, he completed 15 of 22 passes for 212, 2 touchdowns and a pick in Oklahoma, and just rolled Texas Tech 63-27 with 405 rushing yards. This Saturday, Mayfield gets to go back for the first time to Lubbock. The Sooners are, you know, obviously hoping for more fireworks that are similar on offense. They won't have running back Pirine, but they still have Joe Mixon going against a Red Raiders defense that likes to get bulldozed. Oklahoma's got that red-hot combination with D.D. Westbrook and Mayfield.